Welcome to the Lovestead. Hello, welcome back or to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica, and this is just a regular old weekly reading vlog. Right, so right now I am reading Catharine House by Elizabeth Thomas. I was trying to read this to get through it by the time the Full Moon Book Club had their live show, which was yesterday, and I didn't finish it in time. So I'm trying to finish this, and then, oh wait, what's it about, you ask? It is a dark academia about this alternative university where basically you are cut off from the rest of society for 3 years while you live at Catharine House pursuing your education. The main character is Inez, and she's kind of a sad girl. And it's kind of got that Woman versus the Void feel to it. It's got a Bunny by Mona Awad feel to it. And I'm really liking it so far. I'll talk more about it later as I read it. But after I finish this, I think I'm going to try to work on a bunch of library reads. I'm actually at the library right now picking up a hold. So I've got a bunch of library books checked out right now. And so I think I'm going to try to get through a lot of those. But honestly, I'm just going to read whatever in the heck I feel like reading. And that's going to be that. All right, it is later in the evening here, Tuesday, and I just wanted to give you a more solid overview of what I'm actually reading. I only did like a quick check-in yesterday before I went to the library. Then after the library, I did stalls at the barn, and then I was just home all day laying on the floor because my back hurt so bad. If you were watching my last vlog, you know I was having some back issues and it hurt so bad yesterday. So I literally just laid on the floor with Mona and listened to audiobooks. The audiobook that I'm listening to, it is called Emotional Labor, and I need to look up who it's by. Let me load it real quick. It's called Emotional Labor, The Invisible Work Shaping Our Lives and How to Claim Our Power by Rose Hackman. And this is about how women carry the brunt of emotional labor in every relationship and how it is just expected that women carry the brunt of emotional labor, and that is always for men's benefit, and making it women's responsibility and women's only responsibility, meaning that men don't have to worry about it. Like, men not partaking in emotional labor is a way for men to stay in control of women and to basically uphold the patriarchy. And this book gives really good examples of that and kind of breaks down the theory behind that approach to looking at emotional labor. And this is a hot topic that I talk about a lot on my channel. A lot of the books I read cover that imbalance of emotional labor, particularly in heterosexual relationships. And it's something that I have struggled with in my own life, with my own relationships with men. It's ultimately why I think I'm going to be single forever or end up with a lady. That'd be fine too. But it's interesting. It's really interesting, and it provides some interesting case studies. I wish it was a little bit less America-centric. So all of the examples so far have really focused on Americans, and like American politicians and things like that. And while they're good examples, I'd like to just see a little bit more multiculturalism brought into this book. I'm about 53% of the way through, so I still have a ways to go. So maybe that will happen yet. But that's what I'm reading on audiobook. The physical book that I'm reading, I talked about. It is Catharine House, my regular size book. It's Catharine House. And this is a dark academia about a school where you basically shut out the whole outside world for 3 years while you're there. You don't have any contact with anybody outside of Catharine House. And Catharine House is like a world-renowned school where they're working with this new material called plasm. And it's like this esoteric physics kind of thing that they're doing. And it's also a little bit shady and a little bit culty. So this is kind of, it's a dark academia, I would say, in line with Bunny by Mona Awad, and I'm halfway through. And I was eating it up and really liking it, and then something happens to one of my favorite characters, and so I've slowed down because, like, I'm grieving. I'm grieving. So it's been hard to keep reading because I'm like, they're not there anymore. And the character is grieving. Ines is grieving. And like, so I have slowed it down a little bit, but I am really enjoying it. I'm really liking it. I'm liking the weirdness. I'm liking that some things just don't quite make sense. You know, it's one of those stories where it's like, I don't totally get it, but I am here for the ride. And it's also one that you probably will have to read multiple times to really catch everything that's going on in it. So that is my regular sized book. My big book that I'm working on is Kill Switch by Penelope Douglas. And this is book 3 in the Devil's Night series. It is a dark romance, and this romance focuses on Winter and Damon. And Damon is by far the most problematic character in this series, so the book is really interesting. It does a really good job of getting inside his head, and he is very complex and very layered. And not someone I would ever want to know. But I'm having fun reading about him. Like, I really, really am. And I'm about 30% of the way through that one. That's almost 700 pages. So I'm on page 200 and something. So 30% of the way through that. The Kindle book that I just picked up. So I actually just finished the Kindle book I was reading. Since I'm mood reading this week, I was in the mood just to get through this book. It is a shorter book. It's called The Mad Catter by Kathy Daly. And this is book 2 in her Whales and Tales Cozy Mystery series. And I gave it, I'm sorry, I'm stimming a lot here tonight. I'm a little bit over, what do you want to say? Not overstimulated, but just tired. I'm just getting tired. So the stems are stemming. Anyway, I was really disappointed with this installment in the series. I read the first one and thought it was good. The second one, oh my. So what happens in the second book is that someone is killed in the church, and so the number one suspect is the priest. And this book is set at the Madrona Islands, which is largely inhabited by Irish immigrants. And so if the priest goes to jail for murder, the sleuth was like, oh, that would be so damaging for our community. So she naturally gets involved in the murder investigation, as the amateur sleuths in every cozy mystery do. And this amateur sleuth, she owns a cat sanctuary, rescue program, and a coffee shop, which is like right up my alley, obviously. So I love the setting of it. You know, I'm Irish. My family immigrated here. Not me, but my grandparents immigrated from Ireland to the States here. And so I've got that in common with the books, and it just didn't land. It didn't land for me. I figured out and solved the mystery in chapter 2. And that was like 20 pages into the book. I figured it all out, and I was bored out of my gourd for the rest of it. There really wasn't, she didn't spend much time at like the cat sanctuary. She didn't spend much time at the coffee shop, which are the things that I liked about the first book. Is like, I liked being in the cat sanctuary. I liked learning about the coffee shop that they were putting together. But this one, she was kind of running around town, learning about like the land and how it was divided up between certain founding families in the community, and who owned what property and who inherited what property. And it was very boring. It was very boring. There could be so much done with this setting. I might read the third book just to see if this is going to be a consistently boring series, or if the second book was just a dud, because it's always possible that it was just a dud. But yeah, this wasn't it. I gave it 2 stars. Thought it was really boring. Solved the mystery in chapter 2. 2 stars. I actually just finished it not more than like an hour ago. It's Tuesday. It's like 11:30 p.m. on Tuesday. No, it's not. It's Monday. How? What? What is time? Okay, it's Monday at 11:30 p.m. So anyway, that was the Kindle book. The next Kindle book that I'm picking up is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is book 1 in the, what's the series called? The Crowns of Nyaxia. And apparently there's a vampire story in this, which I'm here for that. We love a vampire story. And it's a fantasy romance. So I'll be starting that as my Kindle read next. And I think that covers all of the books that I read at one time. My audiobook, my regular sized book, my big book, Pippi, my Kindle book. Yeah, that covers them. So now you know what I'm reading. Hello, it is Tuesday. It's about 2 p.m. and so far today I've just been kind of planning out my week since I go back to work tomorrow. I've had a couple of days off in between spring term and summer term. Summer term starts tomorrow at work. So I've just been trying to start fresh, I guess, with a clean slate. Something that I love about working in education is after the end of a term, you basically get to start fresh again. And so I'm big on fresh starts. Today is National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. Cheers. Hi, it's Thursday. On the scale of 1 to amazing vlog, I think I'm at a 3. Air quality is terrible because of wildfires and allergies, which y'all know, you've seen the footage. Climate change is real. So is iced coffee. I finished a book yesterday. I finished my audiobook, Emotional Labor. I don't remember the author's name, Rose something. It's up here on the cover. I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was really good, overall, pretty great. My biggest complaint is just that I wanted it to be more multicultural and less focused on white America, which maybe there just wasn't enough time to cover that in the span of the book. Maybe that's a book that they're going to write later on down the road. I don't know. But the concepts, the theory, the research, it was all really solid and infuriating. I'm getting a little later start on things here today. I'm on my lunch break and it's 2 instead of noon. Because yesterday I worked a 14-hour day running on 4 hours of sleep. That was not fun. I was exhausted by the end of the day, and hence why I didn't really do a whole lot of checking in or anything like that, and why I have yet to do my makeup for class tonight. Look, I don't have any meetings, and as I said in a previous vlog, if God wants me to be a beauty queen every day, he should stop giving me so much shit to do. Capiche? Yeah, so today I'm going to work my shift and do barn chores, and then I'm going to have to put in a couple more hours before night class to get my full 8 hours or whatever that I do in a day. And maybe I won't, since I worked 14 hours yesterday. Maybe I can get away with taking a few hours today, balance it out. You know how it is. The next book that I'm picking up on audio is called Soil. I don't remember the author's name again. Here is the cover that lists the author's name. I don't really know what this book is about entirely, other than it's about gardening from a Black socio-historical perspective, which sounds really, really interesting. So I'll start that today when I do barn chores. In terms of a to-do list for the rest of the day, I've got to do work. The first week back of classes is always just a little bit intense. So we're going to get through the work day. We're going to get through teaching night class tonight. I will put makeup on before night class. Don't worry, I am profesh. Hi, it's Sunday. Ooh, so this vlog is going to be a two-weeker because this past week was just a no-go on life. I am very thankful for my job. I love my job. Sorry, my tripod is wiggly because the legs are uneven. Hopefully you're not getting seasick. I love my job. I am thankful every day that I have the job that I have. It's the right job for me. But there are days. It was a rough week work-wise. And nothing bad happened. I'm not saying that. They were perfectly fine days. Perfectly fine. Just very long. 14-hour days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. As soon as I got back to work, it was like all engines firing. It was a lot because I'm the managing editor of the literary journal at my institution. We have a new issue coming out at the end of the month. There's a literary festival I'm presenting at that I'm preparing for. Classes are always a bit insane. Oh, nope, not a good word to use, Jess. Not a good word to use. That is offensive. Classes are a bit intense. The first couple of days, the students are getting settled in. I work primarily with first-term freshmen, basically, and so they always have 1,000,001 beautiful, wonderful questions I'm happy to help them with, but it's a lot. And there's this big grant that we got that I've been working on with a committee that I run, and it was just an intense 3 days. And really, this weekend I've just been sleeping, sleeping it off, honestly. And I have so much other stuff I need to do, like around the house and everything. Like, if you're new here, how do I want to put this? If you're new here, I was in a 10-year relationship that ended in October, and we were in a situation with my house where I just was left with a mess. We'll just say that. I'm left with a mess to clean up on my own, and it is taking me a lot of time to dig myself out of it. I'm getting there, but today I'm feeling overwhelmed by it. I woke up and I'm like looking around like, oh my God, I still have so much more to do. Even though I've done so much already, I still have so far to go before my house will be where I want it to be. And it just sometimes feels like I'm never going to get there, honestly, but I'm going to keep at it because like the spaces that I have cleaned are staying that way. They're staying organized. So it's not that I won't ever get there. It's just that I have a lot to dig myself out of. And it has been an overwhelming time. And there's been so much like shame involved and like self-loathing involved. And I'm just working through a lot right now. And like, so basically what I'm trying to say is I haven't gotten any reading done other than the one book that I've already updated you on, which was Emotional Labor, the audiobook. The other audiobook I started was Soil, A Black Woman's Garden. I don't remember the author's name, but I'll leave the cover up here. And it's about a family that has purchased a house in Colorado, and they are redoing all of their land to make it more native and like habitable for native species and to support ecosystems and, you know, for conservation and that kind of thing. And so it's about this woman's she's a cis-het black woman, and her journey of turning her yard into more of a natural habitat, and you know, all of the emotional and psychological layers that came along with that, all of the philosophical layers that came along with that. And so far I'm enjoying it. I'm about 25% of the way through. I'm curious about where she's going to go with it though, because I feel like the story has been told already at 25% of the way through. And like for the rest of the book, she's going to be reaching for things to talk about. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Maybe it will blow me away. And otherwise, I've not really made much progress on the other books I'm reading. Hi, it is Wednesday, coming to you with an update. I finished a book. Let me look up the author because I can't remember it off the top of my head. Imagine that. It's an audiobook that I finished. It's called Soil, The Story of a Black Mother's Garden by Camille T. Dungy. And it's a low 3 stars for me. I didn't really like this book, but I feel like it has value for someone who might be interested in reading it. This book really talks a lot about Dungy's writing process, and I didn't love that. I wanted it to be more about gardening and gardens and the spirituality of gardening and the history of gardening, and it just really wasn't. I mean, she talks about some historical gardens here and there, but a lot of it really is just about her experience with the COVID pandemic, her writing experiences where she experiences some like discrimination and inequality because of various identities that she holds, and she has trouble getting into certain writing circles, and then like really loosely connects that back to gardening, and it didn't work for me. It didn't feel very organized, and I don't know. I wanted more garden and less writing focus. So in my heart of hearts, it's a 2. But because I feel like there might be some value there for someone else that I just didn't get out of it, I'll give it a 3. Et voila, here's Catharine House. I have like 70 pages left. So very close to being finished with this. Hopefully I will get it finished in this vlog because I've been reading it all month, and it is June 14th. Actually, I started this May 31st. It is June 14th. I should be done with this book already. It's taking me a really long time, and it's not even that long of a book. It just is kind of dense, and it's like, it's not bingeable. It's not one that I can sit down and just read. It's one I have to read in small bites and think about it, and then read a little bit more and think about it. It's just, it's a clunker. It is a clunker. I am liking it. It's just not an easy read. That's okay. Good morning, Frida. Good morning, Diego. Morning showers. Oh, you're very beautiful. Yes. Hey there. Happy Thursday. I have a reading update. I finished Catharine House. I loved it. I thought the characters in this were so interesting. They're such interesting people. Baby especially was my absolute favorite character. I hate what happens to Baby in this book. I hate it. But it shows how well the book is plotted. There's so many little intricacies throughout this story. And then when everything comes together in the end, it's kind of mind-blowing a little bit how things sort of wrap up in this story. And even though it feels like a no plot, just vibe story, there actually is quite a bit of plot. Once you get to the end, you realize like how intricately plotted it actually was, and how just like the slightest nuance in a scene was telling you so much about what was happening at Catharine House. I really like the themes of captivity and of cults and cult behavior. I really like this conversation that Yaya and Ines have about college being like the best years of your life, and how Ines doesn't want to leave Catharine House and Yaya's like, you're just scared, basically. There's a really interesting author's note at the end where Elizabeth Thomas talks about her experience at Yale. And so her grandfather and father both went to Yale, had a terrible experience there because they're black, and there was a lot of racism that they dealt with going to Yale and being a black man attending a white elite university. She also went to Yale, and she didn't have a great time, but she talks about how she wants to go back. Like, she notes that how unhealthy the environment was and how toxic it was. But she also is just talking about how she wants to go back, even though it wasn't the best environment. There's just something about it. Something about being at that university and being young and fresh and having all the opportunities in the world ahead of you. And that's really captured in Catharine House, that sense of like the whole world is before us and we get to decide the direction that we go, and everything feels exciting and new. And I absolutely had that experience when I was an undergraduate, getting my bachelor's degree for the first time. Like, just that sense of like everything feels exciting. Everything feels so ripe with possibilities. And this definitely captures that sense. But also some of that like underlying toxicity that goes on at Catharine House. Like, it is really cool how she juxtaposes life and death throughout the book, even just in these little sentences. Like, I highlighted or underlined a sentence that really illustrates it. So this is page 269. She's talking about the weather. She says, I could smell through the cracked window a spring perfume of fester and growth. So like fester and growth being really similar processes, but one being like a process of decay and the other one being a process of life. And she does that throughout the book, kind of juxtaposing decay versus growth. And are the students at Catharine decaying or are they growing? And where is the line between those two concepts? It was so good. I really liked it. It's staying on my shelf. I'll definitely reread it. If you like surrealist novels in the vein of Bunny by Mona Awad, Earthlings by Sayaka Murata, if you like books that are heavy on character development with not a lot of action, you would probably really like this. I loved it. I also wanted to share that I finished my rewatch of Charmed. This is rewatch number 1 of the series, and I liked it even more than I did the first time watching the show. It's so fun. It's just fun. It's absolutely fun, and I liked how it ends. I feel like everything comes together in the end, and the level of cheese and camp doesn't go any further than it has been in the show so far. Like, the whole show is pretty cheesy and campy, and I was worried that then the last episode would be like extra cheesy and campy, but it really wasn't. It stayed kind of right in line with the rest of the show. It felt on brand. It felt like everything wrapped up sweetly in this nice little story, so you're left satisfied. And I can't wait for the next rewatch. Well, I mean, I do. I need some time. This is a long show, 8 seasons, and the episodes are 45 minutes, and I'm going to take some time and rewatch another show before I come back to this one, but I'll definitely loop around and come back to it at some point and report back to you when I do rewatch number 2, because this is rewatch number 1. I watched it all the way through once and then rewatched it for the first time. So rewatch 1 is in the books. The next one I'm going to rewatch is one of my favorite shows from my teenage days, and I actually found the box set of all of the show at my library in their withdrawal room, their little book nook area that they have, so it was very affordable. I'll be watching Alias, rewatching it. I've seen the entirety of this show once, so this will be my first rewatch of it. I'm really excited. I was obsessed with this show when I was a teenager, and then I'd be like walking around and thinking like, ooh, I'm like Jennifer Gardner, like a spy, and like, who's that over there? And, oh, that person's in a suit. Maybe they work for the CIA. Like, it's so fun, and it is a spy story with a little bit of supernatural elements in it. So I'm gonna get started on this for the rewatch next. I don't know how well you can hear me with the air conditioning, but this is where I'm at with the bucket garden. And this is my goal for the weekend, is to get this fully set up. I still need to plant my hot peppers. They're hanging out back here in little pots still. And my herbs and my flowers. And then get my working stand out. But the tomatoes are doing pretty good. Right, so they're coming along pretty nicely actually, which is really exciting. Hopefully we'll get a ton of tomatoes this year. My basil is doing excellent. So, I mean, overall, I'm really happy with how it's looking. I just want to get it fully set up. So then all I have to concentrate on is like keeping up with watering and fertilizing and all of that. So that is my big goal for the weekend. So this is what I'm starting with, or I should say not really starting. This is what I've gotten to so far. And the weather is gorgeous today. It's like not too hot. So I might be able to knock this out tonight, actually. There's my Venus flytrap right here. It's a purple dragon Venus flytrap. It's doing really well, but I have another one coming that's just a regular Venus flytrap, and I want to get it repotted. I have a nice plastic pot to put it in and some substrate and stuff. So I'd like to get it repotted. So I've got a little bog garden going on, and I might be able to do that tonight as well. Here's a tour of what I have so far for the garden. We've got geraniums and oregano, mint, basil and snapdragons, tomato, and then several different kinds of hot peppers. Sage, tomatoes, basil and snapdragon. Everything in the big buckets are tomatoes. So tomato, so on and so forth. And then these potted flowers are begonias. And then in these big blue ones, I have ranunculus flowers. I started them from seed, so they're not quite blooming yet. But there it is. Bucket garden season is open. Happy Saturday. I hope you can hear me over the air conditioner. But I'm going to repot my Venus flytrap. So here's the container I have. It's just a plastic container with no drainage holes, which is good because you're supposed to keep a Venus flytrap in water like this. This actually has 3 different plants in it, so it's really crowded. So I'm going to get it in this one. And then I also have one other plant I'm going to put in here, a Venus flytrap. I'm just going to use a combination of sphagnum moss and peat moss, which is just a different kind of sphagnum, and then distilled water, and separate out the 3 plants that are in here, give them some more space, and then once they've had time to settle in, I'll plant the 4th and final Venus flytrap that's going to go in this little bog garden.